First, let me set the table and start with this exclusive information that we've obtained regarding our interview with government UFO whistleblower David Grush. Now, the interview sparked international attention, right? His claims that the United States government has secretly been in possession of alien spacecraft and that they've had bodies for decades and that they've even killed people to protect that secret. Congress invited him to be the key witness at an historic UFO hearing. There, he repeated many of his claims from the interview, but said he personally faced retaliation. Listen.
Have you faced any retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say. It was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
Now, it seems that Grush is saying the government leaked his personal medical information to smear him, discredit his claims that he made against them.
Okay, so earlier today, David Grush received an approach from a news magazine, an online news magazine called The Intercept. The problem is the information that they've been fed is information that David had already privately disclosed to us and actually volunteered in his interview with me. But basically, he discussed with us when I asked him whether there was any dirt that anybody could drag out to try to discredit him. He barely thought this was worth mentioning, but he acknowledged that he'd suffered from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, when he returned from Afghanistan. David served his country honourably and with distinction. He's a decorated officer. And unfortunately, when he came back from Afghanistan, like a lot of men in your country and in mine, he struggled with the demons of what he'd seen in combat. And at one time, he wouldn't mind me telling you this, he was suicidal. And his lovely wife was so concerned about him that at one stage she did call the police because there were guns in the house. And she wanted to make sure he was protected. And in the end, David was taken to a local hospital, given the treatment that he needed. And indeed, this is the most important thing, Chris, the intelligence community and the Defence Department clearly accepted that there was no issue because he was allowed to keep his security clearance. Now, there was in the documents that were prepared at the time, there was a thing called a temporary detention order, which transferred him to a medical psychiatric unit, an inpatient program, where he got the treatment that he needed. And this is a document that would be, if the media had done the right thing, it would be in his police department file, in the county sheriff's office. The sheriff has confirmed it did not come from him. The only other place that had this information is the intelligence community. And somebody inside the intelligence community leaked it.
Listen to him in his own words from the interview. Here it is.
I served in Afghanistan, and I had a friend that committed suicide after I got back, and I dealt with that for a couple years, and I'm proud as a veteran who did not become a statistic. Totally took care of that issue in my life, and it doesn't affect me anymore.
So you suffered PTSD?
I am, yes, I did.
Did that affect your explanation of what's happening today? Is it possible that you're deluding yourself?
No, absolutely not. I'm very proud to admit that that was an issue in my life, and I encourage veterans watching here to get help so they're not a statistic, like a good friend of mine.
And frankly, I think there should be an inquiry into the circumstances of how sensitive records pertaining to a decorated combat veteran's file found their way to a journalist, not through the proper channels. This could have been requested under FOI, as is normal, but the county sheriff has confirmed that did not happen. And for anyone to seek to use the suffering of veterans, people who are dealing with PTSD, is utterly reprehensible. It's contemptible and it should be exposed. There should be an investigation into how a sensitive file like this was so obviously leaked within the intelligence community to try and discredit a good human being. The other thing, too, that needs to be emphasised is the Inspector General of the intelligence community has already found that Mr. Grush is a victim of reprisals and harassment. There's already been a warning to the intelligence community that they must behave themselves and not continue harassing and taking reprisals against Mr. Grush and other whistleblowers. And what utter contempt are they showing for the rule of law that they are flagrantly ignoring that edict from the Inspector General? This is a really grave issue of a complete flouting of the obligations of the intelligence community to heed the laws set down by Congress.
House Oversight Committee member, Florida Republican, member of Congress, Byron Donalds. It's good to have you. Thank you for being here.
And stuff like this is very concerning when you have people who served our country having their records being released, whether it's the intelligence community or somebody else. We do need to get to the bottom of that. These records are supposed to be private. They're there so that obviously this gentleman can have his medical situation taken care of. They're for him. They're not for public consumption. And that shouldn't take away from what he is trying to testify to and bring to light for the American people. His personal records to try to discredit him, I mean, this is some 1950s stuff that's going on, and it's got to stop. And let me also add this real quick, Chris, and it is illegal, and Congress must investigate this. It's got to stop. Well, look, I'll tell you, knowing Reps Luna and Burchett, they're not taking this one lightly. So I'm quite sure we're going to have a conversation about this over the next several days. And I'll add to it, it's not a partisan issue. There are bipartisan concerns about with respect to UFOs or UAPs or whatever we're calling them now, that members of Congress have serious questions about. What we don't want to see is that whistleblowers or anybody else coming forward, their credibility is being destroyed while they're trying to bring information to the awareness of the American public and to members of Congress. We got to look into that, and I think we are going to do that as well.